So on Instagram, I asked my followers to ask me questions about my photography. Let's get started. Jules_Woody and Jays_art asked me, when did you start and how did you learn? I started making videos on this channel consistently on May of 2016. Before that, I had a point and shoot camera that I used from time to time, but I didn't take a whole lot of pictures. In September of 2016, I got my first DSLR, and then I really started taking pictures, and I haven't stopped since. As for how did I learn photography, it's a lot of practice. I did read a few books on it, not a whole lot. And you learn a lot from friends. You learn how to pull focus, you learn how to compose, what settings to use, and it's not really that difficult. It's something you just have to keep doing over and over again. Vixen_Mandolin asks, how do you capture a picture of something behind glass without catching a reflection? Well, the easiest thing to do is simply change from a dead-on angle to an oblique angle, and that usually moves the reflection out of the way. If you need to get a dead-on angle through glass, what we do is we usually use something like a CPL filter, also known as a polarizer. Usually my go-to is simply just to angle it 60, 70 degrees, and there's no reflection present. Max_Cortez says, what is the best way to get noir-looking photos? Noir is kind of a strange term. It just means black in French, but the term has been extrapolated to mean basically anything 40s or 50s looking. And that's not necessarily wrong. If you want to capture noir-looking photos, you go for heavy shadows, cast light, usually a face through curtains, some sort of formal composure, people dressed in formal wear, restrained emotions. It's not just black and white photos, it's also the zeitgeist behind it. It's an era where you couldn't do what you wanted, you couldn't say what you wanted. Movies had to get around talking about sex and violence, so they used a lot of allusions and innuendos to do that. And you can capture that in your photography as well, but you need to know a little bit more about noir itself instead of just thinking it's black and white, old people style photography. Action Alex 2000 and James V1234 both asked me what is my favorite photo I've taken and what's my favorite photos out of all the ones I've taken so far. There was a few photos I liked. I can put them up right here. There's this one where there's this hand reaching out to this person. I really like the feeling that it evokes. There's this one of a friend disappearing in front of another friend. That one I didn't get at first why I made it, but the more I look at it, the more it seems to apply to how I experience people moving away and that sort of thing. Strangely, Max asks, do you have any tips for beginners? Focus on skill instead of equipment, rent before you buy, and never ask your models out. This is a facetious question, but Soccer Mombat 2 asks, does photography require you to balance equations or know the method of half reactions? And she's asking this because I posted on my story with my camera on top of my chem textbook. Sort of, actually. The reason why I'm answering this question is no, you don't need to know a whole lot about chemistry for digital photography. For film photography, you do need to know a little bit about chemistry. But when you are doing photography, you need to be aware of certain settings when you're trying to capture certain things. If you're trying to capture certain devices, for instance, if you're trying to capture a CRT television, they have a certain refresh rate you need to follow. There's a refresh rate of about 1/60th of a second for the lights on the streets in the US. And then if you go to England, it's 1/50. So these are small little things that you think about when you're doing photography that becomes second nature. When you're doing moon photography, you need to go for high shutter speed because the moon's moving too fast for you to get on a low shutter speed. You kind of just pick it up, and these are little equations you do in your head. JHX2_45 asks, how do you take pictures? It's actually interesting because I can be pretty chill in real life, just very quiet and collected, and then when you give me a camera and you tell me to do something, then I can completely change. Some of my fears will disappear when I'm taking photos. Like, I don't become afraid of heights if I need to take a photo. It's just kind of weird, but it's how I become. I'll be running and jumping all around, just trying to get a good photo from a good angle. And it's funny to some people because they don't usually see that side of me, but it comes out when I want to take photos. James V1234 asks, what are your favorite photos to take and least favorite? Favorites, I never get to do this, but I would really like to do more sports photography. It's just so cool capturing those little moments that are really hard to capture. I really like astrophotography as well. When you see me doing astrophotography, I hit the timer and the thing goes off for like 30 seconds and I'm just waiting there. So sometimes I'll jump around because it's cold and I'm trying to keep myself warm. Other times I'll be freaking out because I'm like wondering if there's wolves in the area and I might get attacked. And other times I'm just anticipating what I'll capture. Astrophotography is really fun just because it's just so cool to use a camera as a tool to capture things that you can't normally see, like a telescope or a microscope. It's just, you get to see stars that you can't see at night, you get to see the Milky Way, and it's hard, but when you get it right, it really pays off. As for my least favorite photos to take, probably funeral photos. Those are a tough scene. Joe Clement asks, what is the first detail you look for and inspire you to take a pic? This is a great question. The first thing I do when I see photos in a natural landscape is that I kind of divide everything up into lines. I will just look at the lines and the structures, as it be, of the photo and see whether or not I like it. One of the first things that turns me off is when I can tell a photo's not straightened. It's very easy to find that out. And you can have unstraightened photos and it looks fine if you are going for that, but usually it doesn't. But that's something I really look for. As for inspiration, if you want to really look at it, it's usually a theme of connection. When I'm making my composite photos in Photoshop, what I'm usually doing is I have this mentality of I'm bringing something out and I'm taking it away and I need to bring it back. You know, I can't just bring something out and then take it away. I need to have basically a plane and then there needs to be an intersecting arc through that plane, or I'm taking two different points and then I'm connecting them in unconventional ways. That's the mentality I go into when I'm making my work. Bud_Allen_ asks, why in the world did you choose Kendleton? So a few days ago, before I'm recording this right now, I was really wanting to take star photos because we had clear skies and we had a new moon. However, the light pollution in Houston only really lets you get a few stars in the night sky and not really get a whole lot of detail. So I decided to drive down south to this park in Kendleton, which had less light pollution, because I thought maybe I could get some better photos. So I get there late and I set up my camera, I'm freaking out, and I take some photos. And I'm only taking photos for about 30 minutes. And then I get in my car to drive out and someone's locked the gate and I'm stuck in the park. So there's no way for me to unlock the gate and I can't drive around and there's only one entrance. So I call 911 and a police officer arrives. He can't open the gate. He can't find anyone to talk to about the park. He calls in the fire department. They can't open the gate either. So I have to leave my car there and then the police officer gives me a ride home. It was just a really bizarre experience, but I got some cool photos out of it. You can see them right now. And I'll definitely be more careful. But that was the first time I rode in a police car. It's not bad, you know, when you haven't done anything and they're not charging you with anything either. So yeah, that's my Q&A. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'm an open book. And have a good day.